Hello, my name is Ryan Young. I'm a Virginia attorney. My office is located in the Richmond, Virginia metro area. However, I serve clients throughout Virginia. Today I'm going to talk briefly about LLCs or corporations. A question that I frequently get from new or existing business owners is, which is better for my Virginia company? As a point, the information that is in this article should only be used as a starting point. Every business situation is unique, so you need to speak with an attorney about your specific needs because choosing the wrong type of entity might cost you more in the long run. The main benefit of incorporating, and when I say incorporating, I'm talking about forming a corporation or forming an LLC. The main benefit is to protect your personal assets. The corporation or the LLC will be seen as a separate entity, so you can protect your own personal assets should your business fail or if you are sued. Let's face it, it's something that not everyone likes to think about, but there is a high percentage of startup businesses that fail. I'm sure your business is different, but it's good to err on the side of caution and protect your own personal assets so that if it should fail, you could just merely walk away and lose whatever you put into the LLC, but you wouldn't lose your home or those outside assets that are your own personal assets. That's why this type of planning is so very important. And another benefit of incorporating is it allows you to seek outside investors. As we just said, if the corporation or the LLC is seen as a separate entity, many times investors don't want to risk their own personal assets, so their liability would be limited to that initial investment that they make. So it's an easier way to raise capital by selling membership interest in the LLC or selling shares in the corporation. As a bit of a historical background, you do have to understand this because these types of laws are changing all the time. Virginia was founded by a corporation. If you go to Jamestown today, you can see the copies of the shares of the Virginia Company, which is the original corporation which was founded to settle Virginia. Corporations, as we just talked about, are historically a way to raise capital. It's an easy way to gain capital because the investors can just give you money, get the share back in return, and they don't have to run the everyday business. As we said, corporations have historically been a separate entity. They're distinct from their owners. Limited liability companies are a kind of relatively new beast. Some European countries were doing it prior to the United States. The first state to allow LLCs was Wyoming in 1977, and now all 50 states allow for some type of LLC. Remember, this area of the law is very much controlled by state law. If your LLC or corporation is formed in Virginia, it will be governed by Virginia law. So in order to operate in Virginia, they must register with the State Corporation Commission. That is true for both domestic corporations, LLCs and corporations that were formed here, or foreign corporations, those that were formed outside the state. Everyone must register with the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Basically, if you have a question about your registering, you need to contact the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Corporations, there's two types, and we're not going to get into the various nuances, but they may be stock and non-stock corporations. The owners of corporations are known as the shareholders. The corporate form provides protection for the shareholders. So once again, it's just that passive investment. I'm buying shares in the corporation. It doesn't mean that I have to be involved in the everyday running of the business. And so this is an easy way to raise capital. That's the thinking behind corporations. Because the corporation is distinct from the shareholders, it must pay a separate tax. There's that double taxation with corporations as a general rule. Once again, this is where it does get a little bit hairy because there's different elections that you can make. There's an S Corp, but I'm just going to say as a general rule, corporations must pay a corporate tax. They are taxed at the corporate level. Once again, that is a general rule, and it can be bypassed. Shareholders can buy and sell their shares to third parties very easily. There's easy transferability of shares with a corporation. The one main difference for a corporation is you must file an annual report. with the Virginia State Corporation Commission. It's a detailed annual report that is filed with the Virginia State Corporation Commission, and that becomes a matter of public record. You can actually go into the Virginia State Corporation Commission and look up the annual report for numerous corporations very easily. The managing document is known as the bylaws for a corporation. What is the annual report? And this is one of the main differences that I want to highlight. The annual report is this code section here. You can take a look at it. As you can see, there's just multiple things that you have to fill out. For example, the number of shares with the corporation. So that becomes a matter of public record, is how many shares are allowed. You know, the Virginia Code does change from time to time. So if you're reading this after 2013, you might just want to do a quick search for the annual report, but the form is available for the annual report through the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Limited liability companies. Once again, this is a fairly new area in the law, a fairly new type of entity. The owners are known as the members, not shareholders, but members. There's no annual report. So that is a major benefit, that you don't have to submit an annual report. The operating agreement is not a public document. So the operating agreement is what governs, it's the managing document that governs the relationship between the members. It's kind of similar to a partnership agreement. And that is not a public document. So it's only available to the members in the LLC. There's much less to file annually. There's no annual report whatsoever. So that is a very big benefit. You only have to pay an annual fee with a limited liability company. Membership interest is still freely transferable, but the ownership is typically laid out in the operating agreement. And you can put rules over whether there's the right to buy and sell, the right of first refusal, that sort of thing can go into an operating agreement as well. But when a membership interest is sold, you don't have to notify the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Remember, with a corporation, you do have to give them the number of shares that are outstanding. So you have to continuously tell them the number of shares that are floating around in the public. An LLC, the benefit is it allows for a corporate shield of personal assets, so it's a unique form separate from the corporation, and there is no tax at the corporate level. There's pass-through taxation. This is a major benefit, and they're much more nimble beings, the limited liability companies. You can get creative with the operating agreement. And one other thing that I wanted to highlight, and this is outside this discussion as well, is that LLCs can elect subchapter S status. It's the same benefits as an S corporation. Once again, I think that's a bit more advanced to get into, but if you'd like to discuss that, certainly give me a call. In conclusion, I think probably for the majority of Virginia small business owners, LLCs are going to make more sense. You know, if you have only a couple of owners in the LLC, the LLC or in the company, the LLC is going to make a lot more sense for you. You don't have that annual report that's due to the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Overall, there's less paperwork with an LLC, I would say, than a corporation. You don't have to register the shares and keep track of all the various shares floating around. It offers the same benefits of protecting personal assets, and the affairs of the LLC aren't as public as a corporation under Virginia law. Once again, the corporation must file that annual report. LLC does not have to do that. In conclusion, you know, every business is different. If you do have questions, you should speak with an attorney before making that final decision, because if you do make the wrong decision, it can cost you a great deal more money to switch around and change and close one business and start a new type of entity. I wish you much success in your ventures, and if you have any questions, certainly give me a call. I wish you all the best. Take care.